Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 36 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 27. A good Wednesday to y'all. All right, nothing happening today. No competitions, anything like that. We've got another day worth of campaigning and people getting ready for the HOH competition and the eviction tomorrow. But we had a lot of conversations yesterday, a lot of people counting votes, some campaigning going on as well. So we're going to cover it all. Just as a bit of a reminder, we've got Vince and Zach and Keanu on the block. One of them is going to be going home on Thursday. To be honest, I no longer have a real good feel for who that may be. We could be looking at some tie votes, depending on how this works out. And you hear people telling different people they're going to vote different ways. It's just a little bit up in the air. We had, again, though, a lot of conversations yesterday. Vince continuing to just get depressed and kind of be down on himself. Now Morgan's decided she's going to do the same thing. She did not have a good day yesterday. We had Zach turning on the charm, trying to pitch and campaign. We had Keanu continuing to play, I don't know, a one-man game of Big Brother. Actually, Keanu, in my impression, was a little bit more even-keeled than some of the other folks yesterday. He's not always right on his reads, but seemed to be fairly calm. He's used to this, so it's no big deal for Keanu. So he continued to do that. And Riley just continuing to love on the woman of his dreams that just happens to be in the house with him. So, yeah, we're going to cover all of that. All right, before talking about the live feeds themselves, let's talk about one meeting that took place. I think it was early afternoon that I think is pretty important in terms of how it carries into the evening and really through the next few weeks of the game, I think. And this is a conversation between Keanu and Mickey and Morgan. Morgan and Mickey had been griping at each other before this ever took place. Griping at each other earlier about some trust issues, and some of it revolves around this. Morgan had told Mickey that Keanu was trying to get a group together to get Mickey out. Mickey's upset about this, saying, "Well, if you knew that, why are you just now telling? How long have you known this, Morgan?" Morgan said, "I don't know, a couple of days." Mickey said, "If we're working together, how come you are just now giving this information?" And Morgan doesn't really have a good answer. There's a lot of talk about we're not talking to each other. You obviously don't trust me. How come none of this is being revealed? And so Morgan and Mickey definitely feeling a little friction between the two of them, and some of it because of this sudden revelation that maybe some people were coming after Mickey. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like it at all. She's upset that she hadn't been told about this previously. Eventually, they shut down their first meeting. Mickey goes up. She's talking to Riley and Kat and saying, "Look, Morgan and Keanu trying to get me out. I just found out they're targeting. Keanu's targeting me, and I think Morgan's right there with them doing it. So these folks that I thought I could work with, they're targeting me. I just don't like it at all." So she's telling Kat and Riley that. Now, eventually, as a follow-up meeting, Mickey calls Keanu out. She said, I'm going to work this. I'm going to figure this out. So she grabs Keanu. She grabs Morgan. She pulls them all in together and says, "What's this about you trying to put a group together to take me out?" And he denies it. He says, "Yeah, I talked already. That was kind of week one targeting you and Morgan." And she's, "No, I'm talking about now." He's, "No, I didn't do that." And she said, "Well, Morgan says that you said that there was a group that you're trying to put a group together." Keanu basically says, "Yeah, I think Morgan," he says, "The only thing I talked to you about, Morgan, was about trying to save Vince. That we're on the same page. We both wanted to save Vince this week. And yet somehow now, even with me and you on the same page, you're throwing me under the bus." He tells Mickey, he says, "Look, I think that Morgan's just trying to throw me under the bus as a way to save Zach and Vince this week. That she's just making some things up, Mickey, to get at me so that you'll be more inclined to vote me out the door. I think that's all there is to it." So he's calling bull on what Morgan had said to Mickey earlier, and it's just creating a little animosity between all three of this group. Again, he's saying, "Look, the only conversation you and I had was about saving Vince. So anything else that you're saying, it didn't happen. There was not that conversation." Later, Keanu and Mickey talk about it, spend a lot of time talking about Morgan. It certainly seems like Mickey maybe is feeling that Morgan was the one that maybe spun some things a little more than actually happened. So Keanu and Mickey following up and both saying, "Yeah, I can't trust Morgan. She's not playing with us. She's too busy trying to save Vince and Zach. We're afterthoughts. She's not thinking about our game whatsoever." So now with all of that took place yesterday during the midday. Well, because of all that, now we got Morgan and Keanu definitely at odds again. They've never gotten along great, but they kind of had this truce. Well, that's fallen apart. Morgan and Keanu are at odds again. Mickey and Morgan are kind of at odds with each other, and Mickey and Keanu to some degree are at odds. Even though they're talking here at the end, there's still some uncertainty. And Keanu at one point, I think he tells Vince, says, "Look, I don't know if Mickey believes me or she believes Morgan. I'm not sure Mickey's believing anyone right now." So all three of these butting heads as we get into the coming up on the eviction and a new HOH week. All right, so the feeds went down for almost an hour or so in the late afternoon, and so that's where we'll pick up the live feeds again. I saw mention, it was never announced that I saw during the live feeds why, but I did see some mention that the house guests could have been in lockdown. They did mention that they'd been in lockdown. It may have something to do with water pressure in the house, that maybe some people had to come in and do repairs. Anytime a repair has to be done in the house that can't wait, everyone has to go to lockdown. You go in the HOH room, you're locked away, the monitor is turned off so you can't watch that TV, and the little worker bees come in and fix plumbing or lighting or whatever is the issue. And once they do and leave, then you're allowed back in. So remember, it looks like a house, but it is on a soundstage. So sometimes you got little things that you got to fix. Sounds like they're in lockdown, maybe for the water, but nevertheless, feeds are down for almost an hour. So we'll pick up the feed discussion after that occurs. We see everyone in the kitchen seeming to be on decent terms with each other, except for Rachel, who is cycling in the gym. At one point, she tells, was it Morgan or Ashley? I can't remember. She tells someone, says it's her spin class. She said, sounds a lot better to say I was doing spin class than I was upstairs pedaling a bicycle. But anyway, Rachel's working out. Everyone else is downstairs, not talking game, just enjoying a little time with each other, it seems like. But that doesn't mean there wasn't a lot of conversation right after that. We've got Keanu talking to Vince in the bathroom about this Morgan Mickey conversation that he just had. He is saying that Morgan is trying to blow up his game and Vince's game. He's saying, look, she wants to save Zach, so she's throwing you and I both under the bus, Vince. So you just need to be aware of it. Vince is worried about his position, and that's why he's feeling so down. He's saying, look, I think I'm gone unless I win this blockbuster competition. I truly think that's my only chance to survive at this point. Keanu's saying, well, maybe, but he says, I feel like as long as you or I, one of us wins the blockbuster competition, there's a good chance that both of us stay. In other words, as long as Zach doesn't win that, I'm thinking Zach may go home over either you or I, Vince. There's the uncertainty that we just don't know yet. All right, we've got Kelly saying that if the vote is between Zach and Vince, she'll vote to save Vince. I think this was coming from Vince, who said that she said, yeah, I'll save you. They had a conversation. She's very off the cuff. He said, so would you save me if it came down to me and Zach? She said, well, duh. Yeah, of course I would, Vince. So he feels like he's got her vote, maybe not so many. At one point, while they're talking, they start complaining about seeing Riley's dirty underwear in the bathroom. I'm just adding that in because Riley has complained so much about seeing Ava's socks all around the house, and he just doesn't like it at all. Well, now they've seen his underwear. I'm going for socks over dirty underwear any day of the week, but they've pointed that out a little bit. Vince is saying how much he needs to distance himself from Morgan. Apparently, I think Kelly says during the lockdown, Morgan was feeling bad. Vince had put his head in her lap to try to comfort her, and Kelly was saying, that may be a little too much. And he said, well, she felt bad. I was trying to comfort her. Kelly saying, yeah, let Zach comfort her. Distance yourself a little bit from Morgan right now, and it's going to help your game, Vince. So he's saying that he may try to distance himself from her for the same reason. Doesn't seem like he's doing a very good job of it, but he says he's going to try. And with that being said, Morgan is lying in bed by herself, alternately sleeping and just looking very distressed. Vince eventually comes in, takes off his egg costume so that he can get into bed as well and talk to her and just try to calm her down. He's the one on the block, not her, but she's feeling a little bad. She's complaining to Vince that she's been so focused on helping other people play their games that she's not been paying enough attention to her own game anymore. Yeah, she's so altruistic and so helpful to make sure everyone else does well. But yeah, she said I've been focused on other people's game at the expense of my own. She's saying, and now Mickey doesn't even trust me anymore. The person I thought I could work, Mickey does not even trust me at this point. Morgan's talking. She says Keanu as well. Whatever we may have kind of fixed, yeah, that's gone. Neither one of them trust me at this point. Morgan's talking about her fight with Mickey and Keanu that she had. She's telling Vince that please don't tell anyone what went on up there. And Vince said, yeah, no. Keanu already told Vince. Vince already knows all of this, but now Morgan is telling him as well. And Vince is saying, I don't think you really said anything too wrong to Keanu. I think you're probably okay, Morgan. He kind of hedged the way he said that just a little bit, but he's telling her she's kind of on the right side of this thing. But she said, "Don't tell anyone." Morgan is thinking that Keanu is staying no matter what. She thinks Keanu's got enough support right now that it's going to be Vince or Zach that's heading out the door, and that is not what she wants whatsoever. Uh, Vince is complaining about the situation. He's not as convinced that she is that he's going to stick around. And he's saying, I'm 34 years old. I started dreaming about Big Brother when I was 23. So it's been 11 years. And now my whole life is going to be dependent upon a 2-minute competition. Hey, been there, done that. I know what that's like. Yeah, your life depended on one last little competition. You can do it, Vince. Trust me. It's been there, done that. But he's worried about that. He's saying it's too early. Week 5. I didn't plan on this for 11 years just to go home in week 5. No one plans to go home in week 5, 4, 3, 2, any of them, Vince. But I get what you're saying. He's feeling bad that his journey, his adventure could be over as quick as it may be. All right, Morgan is telling Vince that Keanu had mentioned Rachel revealing the heavy hitters. Words continues to get around. She says, Rachel mentioned it. Not only did she not mention that she was in it, but really according to Keanu, what Keanu said when we quizzed him about it was that Keanu said Rachel revealed the heavy hitters, but didn't reveal any names other than to say that you were in it, Vince, and that you were the one heading it up. So more ammunition for Vince that Rachel truly is potentially targeting him. There's talk about the votes. So much talk about votes yesterday. Talk about votes. Vince is thinking that Kelly and Riley and Kat would all vote out Zach if it came down to it. He's telling Morgan that she and Lauren, whether they like it or not, they're probably the swing votes this week when it comes to deciding who actually goes home. Morgan is thinking or saying that she thinks that Lauren is probably leaning towards keeping Zach. She's telling Vince that she kind of goes back and forth between Zach and Vince every day. Really? She's talking to Vince. If someone's talking to you and saying, I'm going back and forth between you and the other person, what that really means is I'm probably going to vote for the other person, but I don't want to tell you definitively just yet. I don't see Morgan not voting to save Zach, but we still have some time. But she's telling Vince that she's going back and forth at this point in time. She's saying the problem is that the two of y'all are the only two people I've got left in this game. So to lose either one of y'all would be horrific. She says at one point she probably is going to throw up on national TV if she has to make that kind of decision. She says, I'm leaning back and forth. So one thing to keep in mind is I know Zach would pick Lauren over me. As much as I want to think that's not the case, I know if it came down to it, he'd pick her over me. So, how does that affect my decision on keeping him versus you and how to proceed? And she just doesn't know how to do it. She says she has to start thinking about her own game going forward. I think Morgan's had a little fear of God that she's realizing how close she probably came to being on the block this week. So, especially with Zach saying, hey, if I'd used my power, it would have been you up there. So Morgan's saying, I'm going to have to start watching my game at this point in time. Morgan is also saying that Mickey scares her. She wants to start separating from Mickey a little bit. That, everyone puts the two of us together. I need to start separating myself. In other words, Vince, I'd like to, continue to work closer with you and less with Mickey because Mickey scares me. All right, we've got Ava and Will talking. They're always fun watching their conversations. They're saying, they may be coming after us next week, but hey, we got prizes this week. So whatever, bring your best. And we already got prizes. Yeah, if you want to come after us, go for it. But yeah, we're good. We're all right. They're both agreeing that Zach is staying no matter what. Zach, Keanu, everyone has different ideas. They think that Zach would probably stay over either Keanu or Vince when it came to a vote. But Ava says, even with her feeling like Zach is going to stay, she's not real happy with Zach for all sorts of reasons right now. Apparently, one of the reasons is that during this lockdown that was referenced a little while ago, Zach apparently said something along the lines or asked Ava something along the lines of would she consider a showman. We didn't see it because it was during lockdown. So I don't know if he meant with her. Probably not. But would she just consider in general as showmance? Not sure how it was phrased, but he asked her about his showmance. And she's just a little alienated. I think that she's got a boyfriend. He knows it, and yet he would still ask her the question. She's not real happy with Zach right now. She says, but we'll get over it. It's, whatever. It is what it is. I'll get over that if he stays. If he doesn't, may not have to worry about it. All right, Will's talking about that he really wants to win HOH come Thursday so that he can protect himself and Ava and Mickey and Ashley and Rachel. He's saying, no, it's not just about me having power. It's about protecting the people that I need to stay in this house. Well, it's a wall competition coming up on Thursday. We keep hearing, and I think that's probably the case. May not be the competition that Will is most suited for compared to some of the other people in the house. So you may have to wait a week on your HOH, Will, or you may surprise us all. And more power to you if you do. All right, we've got Vince and Keanu talking. Vince is relaying his conversation with Morgan that he'd had to Keanu, and that he'd been there to console her and all of that. Keanu's saying, look, Vince is worried his position, even if he stays in the house. Morgan is saying that Keanu's saying, look, Morgan's probably going to be public enemy number one. I mean, she's kind of put me in the wrong position. I'm kind of looking her direction. There's going to be a lot of people looking at Morgan next week, Vince. You're probably not going to be the top target, no matter what you're thinking right now. That's probably not going to be your issue. Doesn't mean that there may not be people looking your way, like Rachel, and Ashley, but you're probably not going to be target A number one at that point. Keanu's complaining about this conversation with Morgan and Mickey. He's saying, look, I've been trying to help Morgan save Vince. We're on the same side. I've been trying to help her. And what does she do? She throws me under the bus. She's just playing a horrible game. She's sacrificing me. She's just not working with me the way I thought we were working together. So he's upset about that completely. Keanu is saying that he's not sure, unfortunately, with regards to Mickey. He said, Morgan's just throwing stuff out there to try to get me out of here. And I don't know if Mickey believes her or if she believes me. I'm a little bit worried about that. And we'll talk about that some more towards the very end of the evening. Keanu is saying that Morgan is making the target on Vince bigger by the way she's acting and some of what's going on. And he's saying, look, Vince, you probably need to distance yourself from Morgan, which again, we'd heard Vince saying the same thing earlier. Vince is worried that Zach is suddenly flirting so hard with Lauren and Morgan, how that's making it difficult. They're comparing notes. Basically, Vince is saying, look, Keanu, you're stuck here in the kitchen making all of these pigs in a blanket all day long. So you're stuck here in the kitchen. I'm stuck in this very cumbersome egg costume that's tough to get around and all that. Meanwhile, Zach is just up charming everyone. He's hanging out with Lauren. He's hanging out with Morgan. He's just flirting and doing all the stuff that Zach does so well, campaigning while we're stuck with our punishment. So yeah, he's feeling like Zach's got a little bit of an advantage over them right now. All right, we've got Mickey warning Ashley about Rachel. Mickey saying, look, Rachel right now is desperate. She lost Amy. She lost Jimmy. She's lost her people. She's trying to cling to you, Ashley, as a result now. Just be aware she has no one else. That's why she's trying to grab onto you at this point in time. Ashley says, I understand that. And, yeah, we've kind of talked, but I'm trying to distance myself from Rachel as well. I realize that it may not help me to be linked too closely with Rachel. I think a lot of people already are linking the two of them together, but she's going to try to keep that from happening any more than it already has. All right, we've got Zach and Riley talking to each other. They're upstairs in the upper lounge outside the HOH room. Zach is saying that he has, or at least he thinks he has, Riley and Kat and Lauren and Morgan and Ashley and Vince, that all of them are going to be voting to save him. Again, with Vince, it'd be if he's on the block versus Keanu. If it's Zach versus Keanu, Vince has pulled himself off the block. So how many votes is that? Riley, Kat, Lauren, Morgan, Ashley, Vince, 6 votes that he thinks he has. He needs 6 to win outright, 5 for a tie. So Zach's feeling like he's probably got the votes. He's saying, but if Keanu wins the blockbuster and it's me versus Vince, then it could be a tie. So he feels comfortable that he can go out over Keanu. But if it's him versus Vince, not really certain how that's going to play out just yet. Oh, poor Ava Pearl. Her HOH has gone so well. She may be the one making the ultimate decision at the end of this thing. All right, we've got Morgan and Zach talking to each other. Morgan is saying Again, I think I said this earlier. She may throw up on live TV if she has to pick between the two of them. She's saying, "Yeah, America's probably looking at me saying, look at that dumb girl. She's so busy worrying about these two guys when she's gonna be heading home next week probably anyway. So she's worried about America's perception, I suppose, or at least she's letting Zach know that as much as Zach was watching out for her by not using his secret power, that he needs to be aware that she's worried and working for him as well." And watching out for each other kind of situation. They're saying that she's saying that if Keanu is still on the block, though, that she thinks that he could stay. So, and this comes as a little bit of a surprise to Zach. He's got a look on his face like, what? So she's saying, yeah, I think if Keanu doesn't win Blockbuster, if he's still on the block, it could be close, Zach. Don't make too many assumptions right now. And he's a little bit worried about that. Zach thinks that he has the votes to stay over Keanu. He's countering that, and he's saying, I think I got the votes. I'm not sure he does. I truly don't. Zach is saying that just be aware, Morgan. I know you're feeling down, but me and Zach, I mean me and Vince, we got your back. We're gonna survive this week. We're gonna pivot. We're gonna reposition everything, and we'll start fresh. We're gonna be fine. We've got your back. We just have to survive the next 48 hours or so. Zach's also saying that Lauren and Morgan will be swing votes in a Zach Vince vote, which we've heard before. I'm not sure that that Lauren wants to hear more. I mean, that Morgan wants to hear more people telling her that she could be the swing vote. Stressful as is, if you know you're the person that may make the final decision, even more stressful. Uh, Ava stressed out doing a tiebreaker, but Morgan, being that these are two of her tight guys, even worse situation. So yeah, she does not want that. But he's saying, you and Lauren, it could be y'all that decides this thing at the end. Morgan is worried as well. She says, look, the fact you won that $10,000, no one else knows about power. Thank God for that. But the fact that you won $10,000, that could incline some people to vote to send you out just because you've already won money. And I'm a little bit worried about that as well. Zach eventually appeals to the cameras, appeals to America to please give him some kind of special power. He says, if America's voting right now, could you just give me something to help me out? You had a power. It was symbolically, I suppose, or metaphorically, was sitting in your pocket, and you chose not to use it, Zach. You don't need another power. You've already had it. You've chosen not to use it. It's up to you, my friend, at this point in time, whether you stay in this house or not. But yeah, I think he's regretting that he didn't perhaps use that power when he had the chance. All right, we've got Lauren talking to Vince. She's telling Vince that she's leaning towards keeping him, and she feels like Morgan is leaning towards keeping Zach. And I think that's probably valid. I think she's accurate or telling truth on that. Vince is a little surprised. He said, "Really, Morgan leaning? I mean, appreciate you, yeah, you leaning towards me, but I'm a little surprised that Morgan, you think she's leaning towards Zach. I kind of thought she was leaning towards me." Lauren's like, "Yeah, I just know what she told me. Yeah, I can't tell you beyond what she told me, but I think she's right. I do see Morgan voting to save Zach over Vince when push comes to shove. Vince thinks that if Ava breaks a tie, she'll probably keep Zach over Vince. So he can't have a tie. He needs to have an outright 6 votes to support him if he's still on the block. He's saying that if it's Vince vote versus Keanu, if that's the situation, Lauren thinks that the votes to save Vince are there, or the votes to save Vince would probably be her and Zach and Morgan and Kat and Riley. Another tie, right? But if it's Vince versus Keanu, which way would Ava vote? Who knows? That would be interesting to see. Vince is thinking that Kelly could be the one. He said, Kelly, she's got to be the one that screws up my game. In other words, if it's a tie vote because Kelly voted to save Keanu and it goes to Ava, that could be bad news for Vince. So he's saying, yeah, he's blaming it on Kelly. All she's got to do is vote to save me, and there's no tie, and I stay alive. It's Kelly's going to send me home. All right, Vince is talking. The whole time he's talking to Ava about this. All right, I'll take that back. He's talking to Lauren here. Later, realizing that Ava could play a major role as a tiebreaker, he goes to talk to Ava. The lights are off. In the Big Brother house, you do not control the light switches except in the HOH room, whereas HOH, you can turn the lights on or off. Ava has chosen not to turn the lights back on when Vince comes in. So we have a somewhat surreal conversation of him talking to her. It's all on infrared, so it's green, but obviously bright for us, but dark for them. She's in there talking to Vince. He's sitting there in the dark in his egg costume and just trying to get a feel for what she's going to do going forward. He's saying that if it comes down to me and Zach, Ava, he says, I'm not good with everybody. Going forward, I'm going to be the new Keanu. People are just going to target me all the time because I'm not the charming, personable character like Zach is. I can't do that. He says Zach can charm anybody to do anything. He says I'm just awkward. I can't do that. So I'm a much less dangerous person to keep around as a result of it. Vince eventually tells Ava, says, "Look, if it comes to a tie, and if you chose to save me, you know I would be eternally grateful to you, right?" And Ava says something about, oh, how she respects the way he handled the nomination. And she's got more respect for him even now, talking to her about it. And she will certainly consider all of that if you reach that situation where she has to break it down. No promises either way. She's just saying, I'll consider it, but I'm not telling you until I have to. All right. Kat is complaining to Riley. Kat and Riley, the two little lovebirds, maybe a little bit of a stormy weather here and there. Kat's complaining to Riley because she says, you keep telling people, calling me mean to other people, and I don't like it. Even when I told you I didn't like it, you just said you thought it was funny and you kept doing it. I don't like it. He's apologizing. He's saying, I won't do it anymore. She is saying that she wishes her mom was there at this time. And with that, she's crawling up into her bunk bed, and Riley's crawling up right behind her. So, yeah, as far as I know, first time they're just sort of cuddling, I suppose, in a bed, whatever. But yeah, she maybe wasn't quite feeling Riley as much today as some other days. It didn't stop him from taking the opportunity to crawl up into bed for a little cuddling and snuggling, I suppose. Cameras went away after that, so not really sure, but I'm sure there's nothing more than that. No matter how much Riley may wish otherwise. All right, we've got Morgan and Mickey. Remember how much they were getting at each other and all that? Well, they've made up yet again. Who's made up more? We need a tally count on number of makeups between, I don't know, between Keanu and Morgan, and between Mickey and Morgan as well, because Mickey and Morgan have made up again. Morgan, in fact, at one point says, look, if I have to let Vince go, I will. If it comes down to her versus Zach, I'm just going to have to accept that. Mickey is suggesting that Zach might be a better one to go this week if it comes right down to it, but they're all making these promises. They're going to respect each other's opinions and all that. They also are saying, look, we may not always want the same people, but we're still on the same page, and we need to make sure we continue to talk and just we need to stay on good terms with each other. And they're back. Oh yeah, absolutely. I promise from now on. Promise we're going to do that. But Mickey's suggesting maybe Zach's better to go. Morgan's still saying, yeah, if I have to, I'll let Vince go. So they're not quite on the page just yet. Morgan, in fact, is resisting quite a bit when Mickey suggests that Zach might be better to go. That devolves into a lot more griping about Rachel. Mickey specifically, just complaining about Rachel quite a bit. They're using candies. I think they were Skittles, but they could have been, I don't know, some kind of colored candies to try to figure out the house dynamics. Who would vote for who would be with who. They're not the first ones to use that in the house, are they? But they're using that to try to figure out how this house is going to look like after this week, based on who stays, who goes home. They're thinking that if Zach stays, that he probably then has Riley and Ashley and Will and Lauren with him, connected well with all of them, and would potentially then target Rachel and Kelly and Keanu. And so they're thinking, yeah, on the one hand, keeping Zach, he would target 3 people that we probably would be happy to see gone. So there is the merit to that. But they're also talking about Vince. They're saying if Vince stays, he'd probably go after Rachel and Ashley and Kat, and they're kind of okay with that as well. If they're saying if Keanu leaves, that Kelly at that point would go with Rachel or Vince. I think Mickey was thinking Rachel and Morgan was thinking probably Vince. So they're not real sure where Kelly goes, but she doesn't have Keanu anymore at that point. Mickey tells Morgan that she really feels that between the two of them, they control enough people in this house right now that they can control the vote on Thursday and determine who goes home. They just need to make sure they figure it out. They get on the same page before Thursday, and so on and so on and so on. More jury talk. And now as we're getting closer to jury, it's not just, I want this person on jury or not on jury, but now it's, I want this person early jury. I want this person late jury. He just is not ever going to end. So a lot of talk about that. They are worried that Rachel, as an HOH, would put up Vince as her primary target, but probably put the two of them up as secondary nominations as well. So, and they're feeling a little fear from Rachel right now. Mickey is thinking that if it came down to it, she could probably talk Ava into being a pawn, that Ava wouldn't mind, that she would be safe. She knows that. So Mickey could probably talk her into doing that. I feel like Ava wouldn't be as appreciative or as grateful to Mickey as Mickey seems to think that would be for Ava. They're also talking about Kat, and I think it's Mickey that says, "Look, Riley just wants Kat to make jury." And I guess the implication is so she can hang out at the jury house without a lot of cameras. And hey, Riley may just self-evict right after that, just to go hang out with the jury house. Who knows? But anyway, Mickey's saying that hey, as long as Kat makes jury, Riley's going to be fine. We could probably nominate Kat, and I could talk to Riley, and he wouldn't be too upset. He would understand as long as she makes jury. I don't see that in a million years, Mickey. You put Kat on the block, pre-jury, post-jury, it doesn't matter. You're gonna make a target. Riley's gonna be coming after you for that, in my opinion. But she feels like she's got enough control over Riley that she could get that shut down, and it wouldn't be a big deal as long as Kat's in the jury house. All right, we've got Ashley and Vince talking. Both of them seem to be leaning towards voting out Vince. If it's a Vince versus Keanu vote at the end, seem to be leaning towards voting out. Man, I don't think Vince is talking about leaning towards Vince. Both of them talking about voting out Zach as their primary choice. But Ashley is also saying that, yeah, I maybe vote him out, but I also don't really trust Keanu either. Ashley's also complaining about Mickey. She's saying she's just been rude for the last few days. You have all that power for a week as HOH, and then it's tough to just come back to being a regular old peasant in the Big Brother house. So yeah, she said Mickey's just being rude the way she's talked to me. She's just kind of talking down to me. She's talking like she's a boss, and she's just being rude. All right, we've got Ashley and Will talking. Ashley is wondering why she said, why should I vote to keep Vince if that's what Mickey and Morgan want? And Mickey and Morgan obviously want Keanu gone. They'd love to save Vince. If that's what they want, I feel like I want to vote out Vince just to do the opposite of what those two want. That's kind of where I'm leaning to go, Will. Ashley's also saying that Mickey doesn't think that Mickey would ever go on the block, because Will said something about, oh, well, what's going to happen when Mickey goes on the block? How's she going to respond? Ashley's saying she doesn't think she's going to go on the block. She thinks she's going to be like Chelsea from last year, that she will stay off the block, that's not everything she has to worry about. Will is talking about if he was to get HOH again, not only who he would protect, but he's saying, look, I'd be willing to take a shot at Riley. He said, I'd probably put up Kat and Lauren as the other nominations, but Riley would be my target. I don't mind going after him. I don't think anyone else will, but I'll certainly go after Riley. All right, we've got more Mickey and Morgan talk. Now, once they made up, they talked for a long time. So more talk from the two of them. Morgan is thinking that Keanu is probably staying no matter what. Mickey is saying that the silver lining, if Keanu does survive this week, is that he is a pretty much permanent placeholder on the block. As long as Keanu's in the house, he'll probably take one of those nomination chairs up. So it's one less for us. So if he stays, at least we've got that to be happy about. Morgan is asking Mickey how she feels about Vince and Zach both staying, Keanu going home. And Mickey says, I'm fine with it. If that's how it goes, then I'm fine with it. Morgan is saying that she's fine if it doesn't go that way, that she wants to respect Mickey's opinions as well. She's saying that if one has to go, I would probably, I think this is Mickey saying if one has to go, she would probably keep Vince over Zach. And so she's still feeling that's the direction she would go, even though Morgan's thinking a little bit differently. Zach eventually shows up, joins the two ladies. They're telling him that they think he stays over Keanu. We haven't heard that from other people, but they're telling him they think he'll stay over Keanu. But if it's him versus Vince, it could be a very close vote come Thursday night. Mickey is saying that Riley now knows that she's the deciding vote, and that he is not going to tell Mickey which way he wants to vote as far as who, because they say, oh, he's a little bit of a wild card. I said, well, Mickey says he's not telling me who he would vote out until I tell him who I'm voting with, because he thinks that I'm probably the deciding vote. He wants to go with the house, so to speak. So I don't know which way he's going to go. It's probably going to be whichever way I go. So in other words, I control Riley's vote, which maybe means I control Kat's vote as well. She's feeling comfortable that she controls some folks in this house. Zach is saying that if he survives this week, if he was get HOH, that he would probably put up Ava and Kat and Kelly, with Rachel as the actual target and the renom itself. He says, hey, Ava told me that she understands if I put her up as a pawn since she put me up, and she would be okay with it. And maybe she would if there's a good explanation that someone can provide. Then perhaps Ava would be. She's not going anywhere. What a shocker that would be. But he's saying, yeah, Ava would be an easy one to put up. I don't want to put Rachel up originally because she would blow up our game and just would be tough. I'd rather just have her as a backdoor that we can go after later. And Mickey's warning him, saying, well, that's all fine. No problem with it. But just realize if you're putting up Rachel's partners, if you put up Ashley, for example, she's going to know, or if you put up Ava, she's going to know that you're probably coming for her. She's going to understand there's a blockbuster or a blindside potential, a backdoor potentially occurring. So Mickey's warning about that. But yeah, Zach's got some plans if he survives a house. All right, finally, we've got Morgan saying that her nominations would be Rachel and Ashley and Ava. So again, I think this is where Mickey was saying, all right, if you put up Ashley, just be aware Rachel's going to know. Just because you don't put Rachel up originally, if you put up Ashley, she's going to know that she's probably your backdoor desire to get out of the house with a backdoor instead of a original nomination. So she's warning Morgan that she's telling Ashley, Morgan's telling Ashley, or that she's going to tell Ashley that, hey, I'm going to phrase it to Ashley as I'm putting you up on the block, because otherwise, if you played in and won veto, you'd be in a tough position of being expected to use a veto on Rachel, which I know you don't want to be in that tough position. I'm doing you a favor by putting you on the block next to Rachel. So if you won veto, obviously use it on yourself. So I'm taking away you having to make those tough decisions with Rachel. So, Ashley, if I win, I'm going to tell Ashley that I'm actually doing her a favor by putting her on the block. I'm sure Ashley will be so appreciative of that. But she does have a spin on how she's going to phrase that if it happens. Now, normally, a lot of this conjecture I don't spend a lot of time with, but knowing it's a wall competition, I said before, I think Morgan and Zach both have a decent chance of winning this comp. So it is perhaps worth listening and thinking about who they would put up if either one of them was to win this thing. All right, Mickey is saying that her nominations would be Lauren and Ava and Kelly, and that she would do Rachel as a renom as well. So again, I think that's similar to what she said just a little bit earlier. Mickey is saying that they all, well, we may not have the exact targets, but we all want Rachel out. And she says, well, if we've got to get her out before pre-jury, we've only got the next few weeks to do so. So, we can't wait. We can't be lollygagging around. If we're going to get Rachel out, it's probably time to do it now if one of us gets the HOH. By the end of the evening, it does seem like Mickey has kind of agreed to save Zach over Vince over Keanu. So in other words, it seems like Mickey's on the same page with Morgan as Keanu goes home no matter what. If it's Zach over Vince, we're saving Zach. So she's kind of giving in to what Morgan wants and is agreeing to do that as well. We'll see if that's still the case 36 hours from now. Lots of promises from both of them to talk to each other. I promise we're going to talk to each other every single day. I promise there won't be anything we don't share with each other. I'm sorry. There's too much water under the bridge. There's too much. Is it the right word? There's too much distrust that's already been created between these two. They're going to promise that to each other. I don't believe it for a second. They're still going to be playing their own game, as they should be. But they're making nice with each other, and we'll see how long that lasts before the next blow up. And with that, guys, everyone in bed by 2:30 or so, in bed, calling it an evening. I don't know if Keanu maybe had to get up, fix a few more pigs in a blanket throughout the evening. I will say this. Keanu doing a fantastic job of playing with the spirit of Big Brother and not griping about his punishment. He's up there doing it the way you would expect him to do. So congratulations to you for Keanu for enjoying the entire experience. All right, with all that said and done, in bed by 2:30 or so, and we'll see what happens today. So guys, have a fantastic Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, eviction day, to let you know what happened with the last minute campaigning. See if anyone's taking a lead in terms of their ability to survive the vote come tomorrow night. It's going to be a great episode. Guys, have a great Wednesday. I will talk to y'all tomorrow morning. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends.